Welcome to Two Errors, One Mindset. This is the place for younger adults and parents who are ready to build a better life, starting with their thoughts.
I'm Solomon. I'm right here in the mess of it, trying to figure things out just like you. I'll share what's working now.
And I'm Michael. My job is simple: to coach you through the biggest challenges using the mental tools that actually matter.
Every week, we blend my real-world perspective with my dad's professional coaching wisdom, giving you the playbook for confidence and control.
No hype, just clear steps. Let's roll. In today's podcast, Solomon and I are going to talk about 10 mindset questions, and we're going to have a discussion. He doesn't know what questions are. I only saw the questions last second, but I haven't gone through them. So we're going to start the discussion now.
That should be good.
So what do you think about this whole idea of question and answer without even knowing what we're going to be talking about?
It's interesting. It's definitely an interesting way to do this, but I think it can bring us a pretty good end product because it's not scripted or anything. We're just going right off what's on the top of our heads.
Yeah, we're going with the flow and we're going to let it unfold, and it's going to unfold exactly as it should. So that said, here's the first question. How do you respond to constructive criticism? And do you see it as a personal attack or an opportunity for improvement? What are your thoughts?
Whoa, that's a great one to start off with, isn't it?
It's a great
Yeah, I think constructive criticism, learning how to respond to it is one of the most important things you can do in life. You have to learn how to respond to it because it's not an attack. It's not a personal attack. People want to see you do better. I think constructive criticism and regular criticism, they are so far apart because I could criticize you. I could say, Dad, that quarter zip looks terrible. It doesn't go with the shirt underneath. That's not constructive criticism. That's just me ripping on you.
Yeah.
If I said, maybe you want to change the color that I think it'd look really good with whatever you have underneath, I think that's a very far cry from the first thing I said. Thoughts?
So is that just an example or you're really not loving my...
No, I love it. I think it looks great. That was just an example.
You see, how was I handling the constructive criticism?
You had a smile on your face the whole time.
But you make a really good point. So how do you really not take this personally? Because when you give people criticism, it's very easy for them to take it personally and take it as an attack and feel very upset by it.
Yeah, I've taken it as an attack before. I played sports my whole life when I was younger, and I'd have coaches, I've had, teammates give me constructive criticism. Back then I thought, why are you saying this to me? Is it an attack? What am I doing wrong? Why am I doing everything wrong? But, now that I'm older, I've realized that they're just trying to help. Everyone's just trying to help. And the best way to take it is that these people want you to succeed. They want you to succeed and they're trying to help you. Even though at the moment, it might not sound like they're trying to help you. They are. That's the goal in the end.
Well, I think you hit on a good point, which is it really also does depend where the constructive criticism is coming from. If it's someone that you know and someone that you respect, then you might want to take a listen to that. But what about if it's just some random person? What do you think in that case?
For me, it really depends what they're criticizing me about. Like if there's someone about your age, an older guy, and he says something to me, maybe I would take a listen because he's been around for a long time. He's probably has experience. But if a young kid says, do this way, I'd be like, what are you saying? There's a lot of levels to it.
So it's a good point. So to keep it really simple, one of the ways that I look at it when I think about this topic is this someone that has specialized knowledge in the area that they're giving me constructive criticism on? So, For example, if someone were to come up to me and say, hey, Mike, that quarter zip in your shirt, but that person never dresses well and doesn't...
Yeah, that person's wearing a plain white t-shirt.
Right. Would I want to take that personally or not?
No.
Why?
Well, they're just trying to give you advice. It's not a personal attack on you unless they make it one.
Good point. So it's more of advice that they're giving, but it may not be based on special knowledge that they have about people that are dressing well. However, if you see someone and they're always dressed really nice, and then they give you that kind of suggestion, at that point, it might make sense to factor in what they're saying and really think about it because it really is constructive criticism. And constructive criticism, the word itself, criticism, how can we reword that to make it sound better? Because it's not really a criticism.
Advice.
Yeah, constructive advice from someone that has specialized knowledge. So to kind of
Yeah.
wrap this first question up, I think that the key is when someone is offering you advice, do they have specialized knowledge in that area to be giving you that advice?
Right.
And then the second thing on that is if I do find myself getting upset by what they're saying, what is that telling me about myself?
Well, to put it simply, you need to learn how to, take criticism and take, how do I word this? You have to learn that everything's not always perfect. You're not always going to do everything perfect.
So you don't have to be perfect. We can always be learning. We can always be growing. We'll always be getting better. And sometimes this advice that people offer up is happening for a reason, especially if it's coming out of the blue. It comes out of the blue. Maybe we were supposed to hear that message.
For sure.
Or why else would we be hearing it?
Yeah.
And if we get upset, we can look in the mirror and say, why would I get upset at this random person's advice about how I should be dressing? If I like how I'm dressing, that's all
all
that
that
matters.
Yeah.
So again, it gives us the opportunity to really look at, is this good advice? Is it coming from someone with specialized knowledge? And if I'm getting upset by it, maybe I have to do some internal reflection to see why am I getting so upset by this?
Right.
Any
I
final
agree.
thoughts on that question before we go to the next one?
No, I completely agree with, your closing statement.
Perfect. Okay, good. So here's question number 2.
Let's hear
Can
it.
you recall a specific time when a specific setback or failure ultimately paved the way for a future success?
Ooh, okay. I have one that just came off the top of my head now. It was my sophomore year and we had the written driver's test. You remember this. And you needed an 80 to pass. I get my result back. I got a 78 on my first one. I then took the retest. I got another 78. Then I took the third one and I passed easily. But what I learned from that is that everyone is making, it's a big deal. You need to pass this. You must, or you're not going to drive. I took it 3 times. I'm driving just like everyone else. What I learned from that is people often make things a little bit worse than they really are.
Yeah, that's a
And
great point.
yeah,
Sometimes we make it seem a lot worse than it actually is.
yeah.
'Cause what
Like
was
we
the
say, it's
worst?
not the end of the world. It was not the end of the world.
Exactly. So what was the worst thing that happened in that situation?
I had to take an extra test. That was all. I got my permit on time. I got my license on time. Everything was completely fine.
And here's a question. Why was that a good thing? Why is it actually good that you didn't pass? What did you learn from it?
That from not passing?
Yeah, so in other words, you didn't pass, but you stuck with it. What do you learn from that whole process?
That, if you give it, everything will be okay. Sometimes a small setback, it means that everything's going to work out even better in the future for you. And in my case I was the one who got made fun of. Oh, you didn't pass it. But I laughed because of it. Good things came from it.
Good things came from it. You think that sometimes in life when we have any kind of a setback, it's actually happening for us. In
Yeah.
other words, there's a lesson that's coming from it to help us improve, to help us get better. In your situation, you could have passed the first time, but the fact that you didn't pass, you learned the lesson on persistence. You said, I'm going to
Yeah.
take it. And then you didn't pass again. And that's really where persistence comes in because you could have said at that point, I mean, what could you have told yourself at that point?
Never going to get a license. Why even take the third test?
Right. But instead, you just said, look, I didn't pass again. I'm going to take it a third time. And then you passed. It's funny that you say that. I was remembering a time I studied when I was in college. My roommate, Howard, was an emergency medical technician. He went out on the ambulance and helped all kinds of people that were in accidents, et cetera. And some crazy stuff that he saw. But anyway, what I decided to do was when he went for training for that emergency medical technician class, I said, I'm going to take it with you. I have no plan on actually going out and doing that, but I'd like to learn at least all the different things. So I know if God forbid something happens to someone I know, or even myself, I'll know what to do.
Right.
So similar to what you said, there was a practical test where you actually had to bandage people and put them on. You had to do all kinds of stuff like that.
CPR.
Yeah, see all that. And then there was a written test. And I took the written test. and you had to get a 70 to pass, and I got
God,
I got a 69. I was 1 point away from.
runs in the family.
Now, that was a very hard test to take, but I ended up taking it again and passing it. Now, I didn't need to do that because again, I wasn't gonna go out and do anything with the certification. Why was it so important, do you think, that I actually did complete it?
Well, I think one, you stepped out of your comfort zone. That's a
Totally,
great thing.
totally.
And two, you learn that even if you're not set on doing something, you can still achieve it. You passed that test and you didn't care, but you set your mind to it and you did it.
When you start something, finishing is very important. So
Always.
before you start something, really think about, is this something that I want to do? Because once I make the commitment, then I'm committing that I'm going to finish it. And I think there's been many times in my life where I didn't do that, where I
Me too.
started something and I didn't complete it. But in that case, that was a perfect example of, I can't stop now. I got to go back, take that test, and this time I'm going to pass it. And I did, and I ended up getting it. So
Yeah.
that's an important lesson in life. And I think, again, I could have looked at it as a setback, but they're not setbacks. It was a lesson for me to learn to be persistent and to not give up and to just keep moving forward.
Yes.
So any last thoughts on question number 2?
No,
Let's
I'm
go to
good. I
question number
like
3.
that
I
one.
don't even know what I'm about to ask you, but let's. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice about handling self-doubt or fear of failure, so advice on self-doubt or fear of failure, what would it be?
Tell that voice in your head to F off. That's seriously what I would tell. When you have a negative thought in your head about something you're doing or anything in your future, burn it, get it out, because it's just a thought. It's not reality. That's all it is a voice in your head. It has nothing to do with what's really going to happen.
It's a great point. And a lot of times that voice in your head, as we discussed on some of the past
Yeah.
podcasts, it's not us. It's something we heard someone else say.
Uh,
We're hearing it as if it's a message that we're giving ourselves, but it's really a replay of an event that we witnessed or heard.
Right.
So it's important to have that distinction when we hear that voice in our head and say, wait a second, this isn't me. This is the voice. This is something I heard, something I saw, something I watched. And I have the option right now to look at it in a different way and to give myself my voice instead of the voice that was recorded. And I think that's a really important distinction to make because so many people think, again, that voice is them, but it's not. It's our
No,
subconscious mind replaying a program that was recorded, and we believe that it's us if we don't become aware of it. What do you think?
I completely agree. And I think, especially when you're a young kid, you got to learn that right away. Because if you learn that right away, you'll be ahead of everyone. You'll be ahead of everyone. And I know I didn't learn it till I was older. And if I knew that when I was younger, who knows where I'd be. But it's very important for kids to learn that.
It is. And, you said you learned it at this age. I learned it at a much older age. So you're actually really lucky that you learned it at the age of
Yeah.
that. But hopefully the people listening will maybe learn something too here, that voice that they're always hearing in their head isn't actually them. It's just a recording. And now, but the beauty is now that you hear that recording, you say, I don't like that, scrap that tape. Here's my new tape. I can complete anything I want in life. I'm working every day to get better and better at whatever it is that I'm working on. That can be the new voice. And it can reprogram the old nonsense, which again is
Yes.
something that we kind of talked about before. Did I give myself advice?
Siri.
For me to answer that question, if I could give myself a piece of advice about handling self-doubt or fear of failure, what would it be? It would be if I went back and I saw that young version of me who was afraid and anxious, I would just say, there's nothing to be worried about. Everything in life is unfolding perfectly. And even if it feels like it's not, it's leading you to the perfect place, that next step that you need to go. So even if you think you're supposed to go to point A and you end up at point B, you're supposed to be at B. And it's not a
100.
bad thing. It's just the way it is. And if you can just kind of roll with that and learn it and allow it to be, you'll feel way, way better in life. That would be mine.
100%.
Yeah.
That's great. It's a little bit more sophisticated than mine.
Well, listen, I think
Mine is the teenager version. Yours is the adult version.
but I think yours is actually very sophisticated, quite frankly, because a lot of people at your age aren't even thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we want to get them to think about it, because if they can start thinking about it, they're going to realize maybe all of this can be applied in my life. Maybe I could just take one thing that I heard today in this podcast and use it to help me. That's the whole
Yeah.
goal of this.
Because it can. Everything can.
It's just simple. If you take it as if everything's unfolding for me and there's a lesson in everything that's unfolding, then
You're gonna
nothing's
live a
bad
pretty
or
good
good. It
life.
just is.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, ready for the next question?
Let's do it.
What's one personal habit or belief you're actively working on changing right now to have a better mindset?
Ooh, I like that one. Well, one of them, it does help with mindset, but it's not specifically mindset. I need to stop waking up at 11 in the morning. I want to wake up earlier because I feel like when you start the day earlier, you get off on a better foot, on the right foot, and you don't feel like you wasted your day away. And I feel like that can connect to mindset because I'm up 9 a.m., doing what I need to do, going to the gym. You feel better when you do that rather than staying in bed till noon and then getting up and finally starting your day. So that's just for me. That's the
But I mean,
that's the
that's a
simplest one
great
I
thing
could
that you're
think of.
talking about, right? There's so many people want to change things. Now, if you told yourself, I'm going to now work on this habit, I want to get up earlier, and you started getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, how long do you think that would last?
It wouldn't. A day, 2 days. You
Why is
gotta go slowly. 'Cause
Yes.
you can't just you can't force it.
It's like going to the gym and it's my first day. I'm gonna bench 300 pounds. You
No, it's
can't
not
do
happening.
that. You got to start
Yeah,
slow.
right.
But many times when we want to take on a new habit, we do it the opposite way. We're always, all right, that's it. From now on, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock. And
Yeah,
then you,
that's
you
not
don't get
gonna
up at
work.
6 o'clock the first day, then what happens?
You stop. You're not it's not gonna become consistent.
That's right. You stop. You failed. You set yourself up to not win because you said, I'm going to get up every day at 6 o'clock. However, in your situation, how could you do it so that you slowly build that habit and then it becomes an actual true habit?
Well, since I'm on break, I have my alarm set for 8:45 every morning, and hopefully maybe we'll bump it a little earlier, but 8:45 is a realistic time, It's not like I'm waking up at the crack of dawn. I'm also not waking up at 10 in the morning. I think that's a good time, and it's a realistic time that I could wake up at.
That's right. And if you did 8:45 and you did it consistently for 4 or 5 days, then you could say, I'm going to take 10 minutes off of that.
Yeah.
And now, because you've been getting up at 8:45, no problem. Now you just get up at 8:35. And then after you do that for 4 or 5 days, you take another 10 minutes. Now you're down. And that's how you build a habit. That's how you set yourself up for a win. The more wins you can collect in a day, the better. And that's, again, how you'll build the habit. Most people don't do that. New Year's is coming up. What do you think
God.
most people's New Year's resolution will be about losing weight? Like most people.
People are going to go to the gym. That's the thing. I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's amazing that people get in the gym on January 1st, but why wait till then? Why not start today? Why not start last week? Why? I go to the gym on January 1st or January 2nd, and I see it's so crowded. Why does it have to be January 1st? Why? Why are we doing this?
Great question. And when you get to January 22nd, what does the gym look like now?
It's 90% less full. You have 10% who stuck with it and are really going to make a difference. And then you have the other, 90% that left.
And all because they're doing too much. In other words, I've heard it. You've heard it. A New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose weight. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to the gym 4 days a week. I'm going to stop eating all sugar. And I'm going to go out for a walk for an hour a day. Now, they haven't been doing any of those three things. What is the chance that they'll do that for more than a week?
0. There's no chance. There's really no chance. If you start slow, you'll get it done, but not if you force yourself to do all that stuff.
That's right. So we just take one small step at a time, and then we stack wins. We collect wins. Oh,
right.
I won. I got up at 8:45 for a full week. Now I'm doing 8:35. Oh, I did it again for another week. I stack wins. I've got win after win after win. Now getting up at 8:25 will seem a lot easier. So that's how you do it, and you do it slowly. Do the opposite of what you've been doing. For most people that are listening, right? We always go over the top. Don't go over the top. Do the opposite. I guarantee you that will allow you to establish a habit. All right.
Right.
Any final thoughts on that one?
If anyone listening has a New Year's resolution, start it now. Don't wait till then. Start it now.
It's a great point. Like, make a decision. Like, why would you say, come the new year, I'm going to...
It's just another day. I don't understand it. And I don't want to sound harsh. I really don't want to sound harsh, but just to me, it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's the power of making a decision. It's like, if you're going to decide to do it, then, hey, you know what? I'm going to start tomorrow. I don't need to do a
Yeah.
big deal. You know what? I'm going to go for a walk tomorrow for 15 minutes.
100%.
Now you just started, and make it
There
simple.
you go. And that's a win.
It's a win. Win, win, collect wins. I'm going to get one after another. I'm going to set it up so that I keep winning. And when you keep winning, you create a habit. And then you're good to go. And then you can keep
100%.
stacking small wins. All right, we're going to go to our next one. When do you feel most smart or capable? When you're doing something flawlessly, or when you're learning something new and challenging? When do you feel most smart or capable?
I mean, I think the natural answer for most people is when you do something flawlessly. We all have things, we all have our niche that we're good at. Everyone has something that they can say, I'm good at this, probably a little bit better than the rest of the people I know at this. So for me, it would be that. But learning something new and challenging, if you can unlock the ability to feel like you're the smartest you are when learning something, you become unstoppable. I unfortunately haven't learned how to do that yet. I am learning, but you will become unstoppable.
Well, think about, how do you define being smart? Like, what's the definition of being smart? Thank you for listening to our conversation today. Your support means the world to us.
Honestly, it does. We started this podcast to share what we're learning about mindset, and knowing that it's helping even one person out there makes it worth every minute.
Yeah, we'd be so grateful if you consider supporting the show.
You can visit buymeacoffee.com/mindset1 and treat us to a cup of coffee. Think of it as a small, kind gesture that fuels our future episodes.
Now let's jump back into the conversation.
I think everyone has a different definition, but, having specialized knowledge in a lot of different areas, that's my definition.
Okay,
of
that's
being
perfect.
smart.
So, like, if you're smart in playing soccer, that's because you have specialized knowledge. You've been doing it for a while, and you understand it.
Well, then if you want to, it's a good point. With sports, it's a little bit different because you can have all the knowledge. You could be the smartest player in the world, but if you don't have the skill, it's a completely different, you can be the smartest player on the field and the least skilled player on the field. What's going to happen then?
Great point. But so if you want to get smart in your skills, what do you do?
Practice.
That's right. So if you're practicing a little bit every day, doesn't that make you smart?
Yeah.
Because in order to get smart, you have to do those little things. You have
Little
to keep
things.
building.
You can't force it.
Right. And then suddenly you're smart. So even if you're not good at something because you have a lack of experience, the fact that you're showing up and you're doing something to get better, I would define that as being that's a smart
I
thing to
think
do.
so too. Yeah.
So maybe it's our definitions of different things that can also set us up for failing, right?
100%.
Right? Because what would be a bad definition of being smart that would set yourself up for failure?
Saying you're good at reading, writing, math, and science.
Which isn't true yet. But if your definition of smart was, I'm doing something each day to improve it 1%, then you could say, I am smart because I'm showing up every single day and I'm doing 1% more so that I get better and better at this. It's all how we define it. It's all how we look at the situation. So smart, not smart, it's a bunch of nonsense. Again, that's programming that was taught to us. If you get a bad grade in school, you're not smart. It's not true. Why is that not true?
Well, because there's a lot of other things that you can have knowledge in, and there's a lot of other things that you can practice. And even that, maybe you didn't put in the work. But if you put in the work, you might get a good grade. And it has nothing to do with your knowledge. Nothing to do with your ability.
Has nothing to do with you being smart or not. It just means, did you show up? If Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan didn't show up to the gym every single day, would they be the player that they were?
Absolutely not.
Right.
With
Does it
all the
mean that
God-given talent that they had, still, if they didn't show up and they didn't do the little things like you just said, the things that make you smart, they would not have been.
so again, it's not smart or not smart. It's, hey, am I showing up and am I willing to do and make myself 1% better in this area every single day? That's smart. That's the way
Yes.
you get really smart. All right. Anything else on that one? We'll do maybe one or two more. Here's the next one. Whose opinion of you holds too much weight in your decisions, and how does that influence your choices? Whoa.
Very grateful that I take everyone's opinion pretty much the same. I mean, with people that I know and people that I love. I listen to everyone equally because I'm not going to put one person's opinion over the other. There's no one who can say, do this and I'll do it right away. I'm going to question it no matter who it is. And thank God that I think that way. What
That's
about you?
critical think No, that's critical thinking. I mean, that's a really smart way to do it. It's like I'll listen in and I'll weigh that out, but I'm also gonna take my own thoughts into consideration as well. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, and you've probably seen it with other people too, sometimes someone says something and they're completely influenced by that person without taking their own.
Without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing that you said that. I just wanna point that out. Like, to be able to do that at this age is really, really a great thing.
I try my best.
Whose opinion holds too much weight in your honestly, at this point for me, I've done a lot of work in that area. It used to be that people would have complete influence over all my decisions. I remember when I was younger, I would if I was gonna do something, I was gonna change my career, if I was gonna whatever it was, I would always have to run it by my parents and get approval from them. And I realized I can't do that. I've gotta make decisions on my own, and I've gotta learn and grow on my own, or else I'm always gonna be relying on them, and, what good is that in the long run?
Right.
So, we have to learn to trust our own gut, and even if we make a mistake, so then we learn, and you learn from it, you grow from it, and you get better the next time you go and do it. And that's
Yeah.
that's the only way you can learn. So
Yeah.
for me, that
Agreed.
was a big one that I learned. This is gonna be the last one. I don't know what the question is, but here we go. So this is good. If money were not a factor and you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life, and what's holding you back now?
I don't know. I don't know because there's so much. If money wasn't a factor and I couldn't fail, I'd do everything. I'd try and become the president. There's so many things that I would try to
You
do
could do just
that
about anything.
anything.
What's something that you really, really love doing and would wanna do that every single day if you could?
There's honestly a lot. Well, you really have me on this one because there's so much that I would love to do. I don't even know if I could fit it all into one day. I love sports. I'd work in the world of sports. No doubt about that.
Let's talk about this. So you don't have to worry about money. You're working the world of sports. Again, you can create and do whatever you'd want to do because it's your option. So, okay, what would you do in the world of sports?
Well, in one life, I'd be a player. In one life, I'd be an analyst. In another life, I would be a. Now that you have me thinking like this, and I can do all these things.
When you're looking at what is it that I want to do in my life, that question's actually a great question to ask because
Yeah.
what it does is it takes away money from the equation and it says, well, if I could do anything, right? We just hit the lottery. The lottery is $1.2 billion right now. So you win that, but you have to go to work and you have to do something that you love. What would you do? The answer to that question many times is what we really should be doing in our life.
I agree. And I gave a pretty hypothetical, like, oh, I'd play a sport, I'd do this. Obviously, if you're 25 years old and you start thinking about a career, that might not be the way to go. But there's so many other options, things that you'd love to do. And you should
Exactly.
really take that seriously. I remember I was a finance major for my first semester of college. And I'm sitting there in the classes related to it. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, the salary would be great, but I don't want to do this. I'd be miserable every day.
That was what I was
So,
gonna ask you. So, because this is a perfect example, and so many other people have dealt with this situation. What was it specifically that made you make the decision to go into finance initially?
but you were finance, and I thought, oh, my dad could help me. This will be great. It'll be easy. Walk in the park. I'll get a job. I'll make six figures. That's it. That wasn't
It's
it.
so funny that you say that because when I was younger, my Uncle Jay, my brother, my dad, and my mom or your grandmother were all in the legal field, 2 lawyers and a paralegal. So I thought to myself, if I go to law school, this will be great because then I'll have it made. I'll have a practice I can come into. I'll make a lot of money. And the decision was about money. It wasn't about what I love doing. And what do you think happened in my second year of law school?
You left.
I left because I hated it. It was so not me. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the topic. It's just not who I am as a person. So what's the point of that whole story? What do you think?
Point is, do what you love and do what really lights that fire for you. Don't worry about money because like you always tell me, the money will come. It will
always
come.
I remember my dad telling me that years ago. He said, just figure out what you love and do that consistently. I promise you the money will come. And I remember
And you're like, what?
this is what I was. In fact, I wanted to be teaching or doing like mindset type work for years before I actually did it, but I didn't think that I could make money doing it.
Yeah.
And little did I know that you actually could make a very nice living doing it. And that's what I'm hoping when someone hears this, they'll think about what is it that I love doing? And maybe they'll consider doing what they love, even if they're not 100% sure how they'll earn money doing it, but just start doing that consistently. And then ideas will flow. And then all of a sudden you're making money and you're showing up to work and loving it every day.
You talk about stacking wins. That's a win, waking up and looking forward to go to work. That's a win right there.
How many people have you heard say, oh, it's Sunday, I got to go in tomorrow. Oh, I'm so...
Everyone.
Why do they do that? They're going to say, well, Mike, I need to make a living. You're dying every day you go to that job because you're miserable. So that's fine. You do have to make a living, but start now a second thing where you're doing that thing you love and build that up while you're in that process of dying so that you can give up dying and then start living. Right?
Agreed.
Will you agree?
Yeah.
All right. So why do you think we had to do this today? What are you hoping that other people may have gotten from today?
Listen to those questions that we asked and answer them yourself. You don't have to listen to our answers because everyone's different. Exactly. Answer them for yourself. You don't have to agree with us. You don't have to disagree with us. Answer them for yourself.
Exactly right. I couldn't have said it any better. And on that note, we're going to end today's podcast and we will see you all next week. Have a great, great day. That brings us to the end of the conversation today. We truly hope you leave here with a few new tools for your mindset toolbox.
If anything we talked about today, from challenging your beliefs to taking that 1% step, resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it.
Our goal is to bridge the gap between generations. If you know a young adult who's struggling with self-doubt or a parent who could use a fresh perspective, please share this episode with them.
You never know which simple questions or ideas might change someone's entire week or even their whole outlook.
You can find our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you again for being a part of our mindset community. We'll see you next time.